So tomorrow we're going to take a partner test on this. This review had 38 questions. Your test tomorrow is going to have 26, okay? It's not as long. But you're going to definitely tonight want to go home and study, so that way tomorrow, when you come in, you and your group, you're on the ball. And you're not tapping your pencil saying, I don't know how to do this. Tomorrow is not a day for you to see what you don't know. Tomorrow is like, think of it as a dress rehearsal. You should shine tomorrow. You and your group, you should fly through this and clear up any issues that you had in any areas, okay? The test, like I said, is not going to be as long. But if you can do all of these problems, then you're good. You're golden, all right? So now, and I'm going to give you some questions, help. Here you go. Number one, we're going to fly through this. If I asked you to find the vertex, and it's in vertex form, everyone should be able, what is that right there? X equals? -6. That's your axis of symmetry. Your vertex is -6, -4. Now, is this going to be up or down? It's an up parabola. So your vertex is going to be your minimum value, right? What did we say the domain is?
All real numbers.
All real numbers. How do you do the range? What do? You look at your y value. Its y is going to be greater than or equal to -4. Now, if I ask you to graph this, is everybody going to be okay with graphing it? You do your axis of symmetry, -6, and then you're going to do a point to the left and to the right, make a t-chart. And you can do it that way. Or what you can do is the transformations. The transformations would be you take your x value and subtract 6, multiply the y by 2, and then subtract 4. This is from chapter 1, or the first section, 4.1 to 4.5. Remember the quiz that you guys took? You had a question like this. So look at that. Now, how do you find the vertex when it's in this form? You do -b over 2a. So what is the b value? It's -12, so it's 12 over 2 times -3. So what is 12 over -6? It's -2. So your axis of symmetry is -2. How do you find the y value? You're going to plug -2 in here. So what is -3 times -2 squared minus 12 times -2 minus 8? You should get 4. So what's your vertex? It's -2, 4. This is going to be upside down, right? So we now have a maximum value, and our domain is still all real numbers, but our range is going to be y is less than or equal to 4. Okay? Now, do you guys know how to graph these? You should know how to graph them. This is old stuff. Now, relating to that, could you describe the transformations? What is this parabola going to look like? Well, if you graphed its mother function, its parent function would be 0, 0, over 1 up 1, over 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the parent function. Okay? So if you were to sketch this graph of this one, what would you do with the parent function? You would take your x values and you would shift them 3 units left. You would vertically stretch it and flip it over the x-axis. So it's a reflection over the x-axis. And it's a vertical stretch by 2. And then it's 1 unit down. So, how would you graph this? You would take your t-chart. Your t-chart would include -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and you would square each of these. And we did these in class with a t-chart. First, you would take your x values and subtract 3. So if you took all of these x values and subtracted 3, why subtract 3? That's your shift 3 units left. If you subtracted 3, you'd get -5, subtract 3, -4, subtract 3, -3, subtract 3, -2, subtract 3, -1. Keeping your x's the same. Then you would move to this one. This tells you to multiply your y values by -2. So multiply all these by -2. Keeping your x's the same. Multiply these by -2, you get -8, -2, 0, -2, and -8. Sorry, I have no eraser. And then the last thing you're gonna do is shift 1 unit down, so subtract 1. So your final t-chart is gonna give you your points. So if you shift these all down 1, you're gonna have -9, -4, -3, -3, you're subtracting 1, subtract 1, and subtract 1. So plot these points, over 5, down 9, and sorry, I'm off the page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's gonna be off. And then over 4, down 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Over 3, down 1, over 2, down 3, and over 1, down 9. And that's what your graph should look like. Questions? Yes.
Can you just plug in like
Yes.
point on the X?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can, after you do your axis of symmetry, you could just plug in points to the left or to the right. That's up to you, how you want to handle it. Okay, this next one, number 4. A model rocket is launched from the ground. And this is what happens. When you launch something, it's going to go up, and then it's going to come down. Okay? It says it reaches a maximum altitude of 243. So right here, it reaches 243 feet when it's 18 feet from your launch site. They want an equation for this situation. So 18 feet from your launch, here's your launch site, which is the origin. It's going to reach 243. Do you remember the equation that we use? It's y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. What is this ordered pair right here? 18 feet from the launch site, it reaches a height of 243. What is this ordered pair? It is 18 to 43. Where will you put 18 and where will you put 243?
18 at H.
And 243 right here, right? Now, we need the A value. Can you give me an easy ordered pair to plug in here? 0, 0. Whoops, I meant to put 0 there. Hang on, I gotta get the eraser. Put a 0 here. Okay, so what you're gonna do now is you're gonna square 18. Yes.
Is this like really important?
Yes, it is. We have a review.
Yeah, that's important. Okay, never mind.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So you're gonna do 0 minus 18, which is negative 18, square it, you get 324. So this whole piece is 324A. Subtract 243. And if you were to divide by 324, you're gonna get you're gonna get negative 0.75 on your calculator. And then if you hit math, do you guys know how to convert that to a fraction? Negative 0.75. If you want to convert that to a fraction, you hit math, and then you hit frac, and then it'll convert it to a fraction for you. Just hit enter. So your final answer would be y equals negative 3/4, and then put your x minus 18 squared plus 243. Next. If you were asked to graph something, and it's in standard form, what do you need? What's the first thing you need? What's the first thing you need? X equals negative b over 2a. Where the b value in this is negative 6, so it's 6 over 2 times 3. What's 6 over 6? 1. What is this? This is your axis of symmetry. What important point lies on the axis of symmetry? Your vertex. How are you going to get that? You're going to put a 1 in here. So what is 3 times 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 4? You get 3 minus 6 plus 4. What do you get? 1. Y is 1. So 1, 1 is your vertex. Okay, what would you do next? Is there another point that you know?
Y.
What is it?
Y-intercept.
Y-intercept, what is it?
4.
4. Okay, can we just do that? Is there something else we can do?
You're gonna flip it for the.
Right, yep. Yeah. And I would like 5 points. What other thing could you do?
Plug it in.
You could plug in what? Negative 1 or 3. Negative 1 or 3. Guess what? Either one's going to give you the same answer. And you should get, I think, 13. Do you get 13? Okay, do I need to do it? Can I move on? 13. And there you have a nice, lovely graph. Was that hard? Is it better? Are you getting it better now? So far, we basically...
Well, no, like the ones that we've gone over, I didn't know like only one of them so far.
Okay, you tell me where you're struggling. All right, this next
This one.
Mrs. Howe, and you're gonna say, wow, it's that easy. Mrs. Howe uses this formula to estimate her profit. Which is the profit? They tell you, P is the profit. This is your profit. Your profit is equal to how many cases of napkins you're gonna sell, which is the X value. So what's the most amount of, what's the shape of this gonna look like? What's it gonna look like? What? What's it gonna look like? It's gonna be upside down, right? How do you know it's gonna be upside down? It's gonna look like that. So, see this P value? That's your Y value. They wanna know what's the most profit you're gonna make. What's your P value for how many cases you're gonna sell? What are they asking you to find? The vertex. So how do you find the vertex? Negative B over 2A. So you're gonna do negative 50 over 2 times negative 1. What do you get?
What is that?
25. So how many cases? 25 cases is gonna give you what? You're gonna plug 25 in here. Negative 1, that's your profit. That's the most amount of profit that you can make. So what is negative 1 times 25 squared plus 50 times 25 minus 350? You gotta do the math here. You're gonna end up with $275. That's your profit. So when you sell 25 cases, you make $275. That's the most money you're gonna make. Easy now? Now the break-even point is this right here, the zeros. How do you find these two numbers? So I want to know when the profit is nothing, when you make no money, but you sell all of your cases, I want to know where P is 0. So I want this answer right here. And how do we solve one of these? There's two things you could do. You could complete the square, or you could quadratic formula. Whichever one you want, there's two answers, you're gonna get two answers. They wanna know, both answers, and you end up getting 42 and 8. Now, does anyone need me to do this problem?
Yes.
Okay, which method do you want me to perform?
Well, you're
the
right.
square.
Complete the square is actually the easiest for this one. Why? Why is completing the square the easiest? Because this is an even number. Now first, what should you do with this negative? You want to pull it out. So that shouldn't take long. So you have x squared. I'm writing it left to right now. This is going to go on the other side. Everyone okay with what I just did?
Mhm.
Now, how do you complete the square? You bring 350 to the other side. Okay, you take half of negative 50 and you square it. So it's negative 25 squared is, what is it? 625. You're gonna add 625 to both sides. Now, what does this factor to be? It factors to be x minus 25 squared equals, and this is 275. Take the square root of both sides. Now you need a calculator to do this. What is the square root of 275?
11.
What is it?
5 root 11.
Well, you want it in decimal form. It's 16.58, and then add 25. So it's 25 plus 16.58, and 25 minus 16.58. Now, they want you to round to the nearest case, so I would make this 17 cases. I would do 25 plus 17 cases and 25 minus 17 cases. So what is 25 plus 17 cases is 42. And what's 25 minus 17 cases? 8 cases. So these two cases, you'll break even. Next, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You guys gotta get factoring down to an art, because if you can't factor, you can't solve. And we've gone through all this factoring stuff. First, always check to see, is there something you can pull out? In this one, you can pull 3 out. And then see how you're gonna factor it. So is there if you're lost on factoring, maybe go to Khan Academy and pull up some factoring stuff. This one is, you're gonna guess, I would guess and check on this one. And I would say, okay, I would put a 10 here, because 10 times 5 is 50, and then you do your minus 3. That's how I would do that one. This next one, I look at this and say, wow, that's a perfect square and that's a perfect square. And this one factors to be 7x plus 5 quantity squared. And number 10, these should be easy. Take a 3 out, and you're left with 4 minus 9x squared. And then you say, wow, this is the difference of 2 perfect squares. And then 2 plus 3x. Okay? You just gotta know how to factor. This is all review. This is just review. All right, what do you do for 11 and 12? Now, if you can't factor, you can't solve these. There's gonna be 3 quick questions where you have to factor and solve. How do you factor something? First of all, what do you first have to do to this problem?
Subtract 11, subtract x.
You wanna get it so it's set equal to 0. And now you're going to, it's factorable. So right away I look at this and say, what am I gonna use to solve it? You can either do the AC method or guess and check. And you just gotta get yourself, it's 4x minus 3 and x minus 2. So now we wanna solve it. So what are my 2 answers? It's 3/4 and 2. For number 12, is there something you can take out of this problem?
3.
And you're left with x squared minus 3x minus 10. And now, what times what is negative 10? And why can I do that? Because there's a 1 here. So x times x, negative 5 times 2 is negative 10, but adds to be negative 3. Now, do I get a 0 for a 3? No, it's nothing. Only for the variable. So x is 5, and x is negative 2. Now, the only difference between 13 and 11 and 12 is it's not set equal to 0. All you have to do to find the zeros, you put a 0 in for y and solve. That's all you do. I'm only going to do this one. Don't worry about 8, 14. So what's wrong with this problem? It's, first of all, it's not organized correctly. So you want to get your, whoops, minus 10. Okay. What else do I need to do? Factor it. You get 3x minus plus 5. I'm sorry, 3x minus 2. 3x minus 2. And then 2x plus 5. So this factors to be 15 minus 4 is 11. So now what are your answers? 2/3 and negative 5/2. Questions? Okay, for number 15, what should you do on that one?
Distribute.
No, I'm not gonna distribute, it's an easier thing to do.
5.
Subtract 5. Then what?
Divide by 5.
Divide by 5, both sides. And you get what? 12, right? Then what? Is this coming back to you guys now?
Take the square root of this.
Square root of both sides. And then what? What do I write here?
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus. Now you gotta be able to do this. 12. What times what is 12? 2 times 6. 2 times 3. So what is 12? It's 2 root 3. What else?
Then add 3.
Add 3. Now they're asking on this worksheet to give the exact and the estimated. Are these exact or are these
I
estimated?
think that.
These are exact. How do you estimate?
You have to solve for the 3.
You have to take a calculator and physically type in 3 plus 2 root 3 and 3 minus 2 root 3, okay? All right, next. If I asked you to solve this problem, what would you do? First thing you would do?
Subtract 18.
Subtract 18. And when you subtract 18, do you get? Now, there's 4 ways I told you how to solve these. One is by simply factoring this one. Is this simply factorable?
No.
No. The other way is take the square root of both sides. Can you do the square root of both sides? No. Why? Because you've got 8x in the middle. Can't do it. The other 2 ways, complete the square. Would you complete the square on this one? Why? Why would you not complete the square? Because if you divide this by 16, you're going to get a half. And that would be take half of half? No. What would be the method of choice for this one? Now the quadratic formula, you just got to get good at it. You just have to know the formula. So it's negative 8 plus or minus 64 minus 4, and you can use a calculator, I'm not going to stop you, and then times negative 17, all over 2 times 16. And simplify it. Is everyone okay with this formula? Okay, I'm not gonna finish it, you can do that.
I'm sorry.
Number 17. If you had to pick a method, which method would you use on this one? Right away, fast. Complete the square. It's not factorable. Do you know what times what is 4 that adds to be -8? I would complete the square on this one. How do you complete the square? Fast. This is -4. Then what?
Half of 8.
Half, square it. What do you get? 16, right? Factor equals 12. Square root x minus 4 equals plus or minus 2 root 3, then what? Add 4, right? What method would you do for 18? And why? I would use the quadratic formula also. Why? Because when you divide this by 2, you get a 3, that's an odd number, it's gonna be, you're gonna have a fraction. Plus if you divide that by 2, you're gonna get a decimal. So, do I need to do the quadratic formula again? It's x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, I know in the directions it says, solve by completing the square. I'm gonna let you decide what you want, what method you wanna use, okay? So, you don't have to perform a certain operation, but you should know how to do each one of them. Would anybody have trouble with this? So it would be 6, -6, plus or minus, we have 36 minus 4 times 2 times -11, and over 2 times 2, which is 4. You can finish that yourself. Okay? For number 19, how do you rewrite this in vertex form? Here's your problem right here. What is the vertex? How do you find it? Mm-hmm. This is from the first test. What is the b value? It's 8, so it's -8 over 2 times 1, which is 2, so -4. So my equation is gonna be something like y equals, the a value is 1, and it's x plus 4 quantity squared. What do I need right here? The y value. You're gonna plug -4 in here to figure out what y is. -4 squared is 16, and then minus 32, and then plus 5. So you have -16 plus 5, which is -11. So this is vertex form. It's y equals 1 times x plus 4 quantity squared minus 11. The vertex is -4, -11. Your axis of symmetry is x equals -4, and the rest you should be able to do. I'm not going to do 20, same thing. 21. 21. How do you find your discriminant? What do you do? Your discriminant is equal to b squared minus 4ac. Do not do the square root of it, just b squared. So what is the b value? It's -5. -5 squared is 25, minus 4, a is 1, -4. So what is your discriminant? It's 41. What does that mean? It means there's 2 solutions. Questions? 22. What is the b value? 12. What's 12 squared minus 4 times -9 times -4? I believe you get 144 minus 144. So the discriminant is 0. That means there's 1 solution. Are you feeling any better about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. If I asked you to solve these, there's more of this. We just did these. What would you have to do? You want the zeros. So I want you to set this equal to 0 and solve it. So what would be your first step?
Subtract 4. Really?
This one you're going to
Distribute.
distribute. Whereas this one is good to go. So, how do you use the quadratic formula? It is negative b plus or minus. See, there's a lot of repetition on this. So, as you can see, there's some stuff I can eliminate. You get it? You see where I can eliminate some things, like these two are a repeat. So what is your b value? It's negative 7. So it's 7 plus or minus. We've got 49 minus 4 times 2 times 4, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. And you finish it. Questions on it? Do I need to finish it? You've got the answer. The answer should come out to be 7/4 plus or minus square root of 17 over 4. And for 24, you should have 1/3 plus or minus. And now you could keep it all underneath one radical. You don't have to have it broken up. So what would the answer for 23 look like? It would be 7 plus or minus root 17 over 4. And for 24, you should have 1 plus or minus root 22 all over 3. Everyone good with that? You just have to practice your quadratic formula. For 25, we did a question like this on your homework, and it was about seeds, flower seeds, I believe, and you wanted to max, what would be the smallest amount the school should charge for this concert? And the question you had was, what was the smallest amount to sell seeds, flower seeds? So all you want to do here is plug in 8,500 right here for profit. So 8,500 equals negative 200 c squared plus 3,600 c minus 6,400. What you have to do in this problem is get a 0 on one side. So subtract 8,500 and you get, for this one, what is negative 6,400 minus 8,500? You get negative, so negative 200 c squared plus 3,600 c minus 14,900. Now, unfortunately, this is a really, it's all big numbers. But if you use the quadratic formula, if you do negative b, so negative 3,600 plus or minus the square root of 3,600 squared minus 4 times negative 200 times negative 14, you're going to get big numbers, but you've got a calculator, over 2 times negative 200. The answers you should get $6.45. Use your calculator. Okay, moving along. Negatives. What do you do with a negative? How do you simplify this? What's this one? You're going to use the I, imaginary number. What's this?
Square root 7i.
7i. Now, I don't care if you put the I in front or at the end, like that. I'll take either answer. How about 27?
4i root 3.
What did you get?
4,
4i root 3. Does anybody need me to do this? You do, okay. So, do you know where the I comes from? Okay, now you've got 48. How do you break 48? 6 times 8 is 48. 6 is 2 times 3. And 8 is 2 times 4, and then 2 times 2. So square root means you need 2's, 2 of a kind. There's 2 2's, and here's 2 2's. So what's 2 times 2? 4. This 3 did not get partnered off with anything, so it stays underneath. You get it? Okay, good. Next. How do you plot a complex number, where is negative 3i at?
-3.
Right here. There, you go over 0 but down 3. Now they want to know how far is, what's the absolute value, which means how far is that number from 0? How many units is it? That's easy, right? 3? Okay, check out the next one. How do you plot negative 4 minus 5i? You're going to go over 4 units and down 5, right there. This point is negative 4 minus 5i, right? Now, how far is this from 0?
You gotta,
How far is it?
you have to do the
Pythagorean theorem. How far is it from here to here? How many units is it? 4. Remember, units can't be negative, so it's 4 units, and how many units is this? 5. What does the Pythagorean theorem say to do? Square the legs, add them together, and you get the distance, that hypotenuse, which is how far it is from 0. So you get 16 and 25. What's 16 and 25? 41. And what's the square root of 41? It's the square root of 41. Easy? Easy? Okay. Last page. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Your test is going to, 26, 27, 28, 29, your test is going to look very close to this. All I did was change these numbers around. All right, what is this asking you to do right here? Subtract. Subtract, not distribute. This is not a multiplication problem. How do you subtract? What do you do? What does this become? Positive 1. What does this become? Now, what do you add? What goes together? Which is 5, right? 4 and 1 is 5. And what's this? And you're done. Easy? Okay. What about 31? What does 31 want you to do? It says take negative 1 plus 3i and do what with it? Multiply it by itself, or square it, which means this. So what do I do? Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Negative 1 times 3i is, and then this, another negative 3i. And what's 3i times 3i? 9i squared. What is 9i squared? Negative 9. So what's 1 minus 9? Negative 8 minus 6i. Are you guys good? Everyone okay? All right, what do you do next? Distribute. Why? Because it's the number in front of a parenthesis. What is 2 times 3? 6. Tell me, what else? Minus 14i. What's this? Plus 4i. Minus 5i squared. Right? Okay, good. What is minus 5i? What's this equal to? 5. So what's 5 and 6? And then what's this?
Minus 10.
Excellent. Sounds like you guys do better on the harder stuff.
It's the most recent.
It's the most recent, okay. What do I do here? I know I can make this something and I can make this something. What can I make this?
2i.
Good, 2i. And what do I make this?
3i.
And then what do I do? You're going to FOIL. What's 2 times negative 1? What's 2 times 3i? What's 2i times negative 1? And what's 2i times 3i? 6i squared, or this is negative 6. This is negative 6. Negative 6 and negative 2 is negative 8, and you get 4i right here. So far, so good? Okay. I feel like I'm in a marathon. What do? I'm only going to put one of these two on your test. 1. How do you get rid of an I in the bottom? What do you multiply by? Negative 4i. So let's do that. 5 times negative 4i is negative 20i. And then this is going to be negative 8i squared over negative 16i squared. Well, what do these I squareds equal? What does that equal and what does this equal?
Negative 16.
So this is 8, right? This is an 8. So it's 8 minus 20i over 16. Is there any number that goes into all three of these?
What do you mean? Oh, wait, two.
4.
4. 4 goes into this 2 times, 4 goes into this 5 times, 4 goes into this 4 times. So your best answer is 2 minus 5i over 4. I know I'm going fast. How about 35? What do you do?
Multiply the whole line.
What's the conjugate?
4 plus 3i.
4 plus 3i over 4 plus 3i. What do I do next? What do I do? FOIL. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3i is 9i. Negative 2i times 4 is negative 8i. And what's this? Negative 2i times 3i. Negative 6i squared. We'll simplify in a minute. What's 4 times 4? 16. What happens to the next two?
Cancel
They
out.
cancel. Do we need to bother doing it? No. What's negative 3i times 3i?
Negative 9i. Squared.
Okay, good. Next, what are you gonna do?
Oh.
What does this go to? 6. What's 6 and 12? What's this? Positive I. And then this is 9. 9 and 16 is 25. Done. Questions? Okay, 36. Remember the 4 different ways? You're finding the zeros. So what you do is you put a 0 right here. What is this problem missing?
B term.
A B term. It's missing a B term. So how do I solve it when it doesn't have a B term? What's the easiest thing to do? Bring this over. Then what? Divide by 2. What do you get? Now what? Negative 18. Square root of both sides. So I get plus or minus root 18i. But can I simplify 18? 9 times 2 is 18, and 9 is 3 times 3. So what's my best answer?
3 plus or minus root 2.
Plus or minus 3 root 2. I don't care if you put the I there. Some people put it right there. I'm good with either one. Last two. This one looks like what formula are we going to use? I would complete the square on this one. It's easier. Why complete the square? Because it's an even number. So let's complete the square. What do you first do with 5?
Move it over.
Bring 5 over. Half of 2 is 1. And you square it, you get 1. We're going to add 1 to both sides. Next, what do I do? What's this? 2i. And now subtract 1. Easy? One more. Would you complete the square on this one? No, I wouldn't. Because, why? Because you're gonna get a fraction there. You don't wanna take half of a fraction. So you're gonna do negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c.
Would it 3x squared be negative?
No, you're bringing this over
Oh, okay.
and that over. All over 2 times 3, which is 6. So, grand finale, what do you do? Negative 2 plus or minus 4 minus, this is 12 times 5. What's 12 times 5? 60. Next, negative 56 over 6, right? What are you gonna take out? Negative 2 plus or minus root 56i over 6. How do you break 56 up? Here's 56. I know 2 goes into 56 how many times? 28, and 2 times 14, and 2 times 7. So 56 is 2 root 14. And now, can you write this better, simplifying it? It's
Yeah.
negative 1 plus or minus root 14 over 3. That's your answer.
When, you forgot that.
Oh, the I. Thank you. Forgot the I. Now, if you all study and you come in tomorrow, imagine how powerful your group will be when you've got 4 people that know what they're doing. You're gonna whip through this test and you're gonna all get an A on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, if you were